Alright guys, let's take a look at question number 10. It says if the square root of 5 minus x equals 4, then x is equal to what? Alright, so again, the math way to approach this, I wrote out the question. This is pretty simple as long as you realize that the square root, to get rid of the square root, all you have to do is square it. Okay. Now, I'm going to note something you don't have to do is I could just square both sides and I would get 5 minus x equals 4 squared. But I do want you to note something. Okay, so again, this arrow, instead of writing down, I'm just going to the side. The square root really means this. It means it's raised to the 1/2 power. Okay, and so when I square, what I'm actually doing is using that exponent rule that we talked about in the last video. Right? So when you raise something to another power, you multiply. 2 times 1/2 is 1. And hence I get 5 minus x equals, if I square one side, I got to square the other, 4 squared. Okay, so I just want to drive your intuition a little more and realize that why do we square? Because you square something, it's the same thing as being raised to the 1/2 power. Okay, so now I'm here. This is 5 minus x equals 16. So if I'm going to solve this algebraically, remember there's a plus 5 technically here. So to get rid of this 5, I got to move it to the other side. To move it, I got to subtract 5. If I subtract 5 from one side, I got to do it to the other. I get negative x equals to 11, so x is negative 11. Okay. If that's not clear, realize that all I did is just multiply or divide by negative 1 through the entire equation. So negative becomes a positive, and positive becomes negative. And we get x to be 11. Okay. Now, x equal to negative 11. All right, so that would be answer choice B. Okay. Again, if algebra is not your strong suit, you can backdoor this question. If the answer is negative 11, I can just substitute my answer choices in. So I could have just said square root 5 minus negative 11 equals 4. If you have two negatives, a negative and a negative becomes a positive. Okay, so you have square root 5 plus 11 equals 4. And that becomes square root 16, which is 4. Boom. And there's your answer. So this is a classic example. If you struggle with algebra, it's a classic way of backdooring the question by just plugging in the answer. In fact, even if I knew the algebraic way, that this doesn't, if you are comfortable with algebra, this doesn't take a lot of time, I may still very quickly see that if I plug in negative 11, I get 5 plus 11, which is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. However, and I say this all the time, but I'm going to re-emphasize it here, I want to emphasize you have to work through everything. If you're going to substitute in the answer choices in, you have to work through all of them. I don't care that we got a negative 11 to work. I would have to go through and do them all. Okay? Nice thing here is that that's actually not too difficult to do. Okay, so why don't I go ahead and just do that. So if I substitute the other ones in, I'm going to do this kind of fast, so hopefully this is very clear. It's going to be 5 minus negative 21. That becomes plus, so 5 plus 21 is square root 26. There's no way square root 26 is 4. Okay, if I do the next one, I did negative 11. I'm saying that did work. If I try 1, I get square root 5 minus 1. Sorry about that. And 5 minus 1 is 4, but it's the square root of 4 is 2. It's not 4. So this is wrong. All right. And if I use 11, 5 minus 11, the square root of that is 4. I mean, it's the square root of negative 6. Which is a very special case. Okay, you can't take this when we play under the real numbers. So if I don't include what's called imaginary numbers, or really the complex numbers, I can't take the square root of negative 6. Okay, so this is not equal to 4 in any case. Okay, so it depends on how far you've worked with math. Maybe some of what I've talked about just now is like, what the heck does this man talk about? But you can't take the square root of a negative if you're playing under the reals, okay, which is what we assume when we're taking a test like the TSI. So none of these work. The only one that managed to give me the correct answer to match up is was when I plugged in -11. Okay? Watch your signs, because 11, -11. Okay? Short and sweet. Hopefully this made sense. Nice little problem. All right. See you in the next video.